Hey everybody, we're at Denver Comic Con right now. We're sitting and talking with Jen Vaughn. She does a lot of stuff. She does like Betty and Veronica Vixens. She does Goosebumps. She does Adventure Time. But I personally am super excited to talk to her because she does Princeless. My kids love Princeless. They think it is like one of the coolest books like in the whole world. When I handed it to my 11-year-old, she read it cover to cover in about 15 minutes, which means to me that she skimmed a lot of it. So I made her read it again. But she loves it. She won't put it down. She won't let me put it back onto my trade paperback shelf. She keeps it in her room. So, but Jen, welcome to the show.
Wow,
how are you today?
Thank you. Yeah, that was actually that book, 2013. It was like Girls Who Rock comic, like a bunch of short stories for a Princeless floppy comic. That was like the first time I was in Diamond.
Nice.
My name on a cover, so I was like, yeah, hot shit over here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was like taking pictures, like sending my mom the pages from previews.
You're like,
I was like,
I made it.
She was like, how many months rent was that? And I was like, haha, just kidding. It's just a cycle. Like,
So, tell me a little bit about. I know that you're an indie comic creator. Like, you do a lot of self-publishing of your own things, but you also work on a lot of licensed material. What are kind of some of the pros and cons of like working on licensed stuff versus working on indie stuff?
Yeah, well, there's definitely reasons to do both. For a licensed work such as like Goosebumps or Vixens with the Archie team, you're working with sort of like they're going to have like a Bible of expectations of like, they can do this, they can't do that. And that's, sometimes you don't know 100% of everything that you can or can't do. I used to write for Plants vs. Zombies for the mobile game.
It's such a weird idea that somebody has to write Plants vs. Zombies.
Yeah, oh man, I gave them all backstories for like
really?
that like kind of translated to, what's it called? The console game.
Right.
And sorry, my point being, they were like, oh, by the way, because I had written, like some short comics that were put within the mobile game, like as you progress through each character's map. They're like, oh, we can't have the zombies actually eating anyone. And I'm like, that is their core function, right? It's like, or I guess two. It's like 1, rotting, 2, eats people. So I was like, okay, all right, we could do that. Didn't realize. And like, no one, I guess, had passed that note over to me. So, but for Goosebumps and Vixens, I was working with great teams at IDW and Scholastic and Archie. So there was, I'd get some back and forth, like, hey, we want to feature Slappy more or feature Slappy less. And so, I'd have to do some rewrites or redrawing, but it was a great experience. It is a recognizable thing as well. So when it's on your table, I think people are like, oh, so not just self-published, like your stories must be good enough that people will pay you to do it. So in that way, it's kind of like, yeah, but also, like, please buy everything now. So
it's all awesome. This just happens to be the recognizable awesome.
Yeah,
Very
versus
cool.
like self-published stuff. Like I have a series that's like Trouble at the Renaissance Fair, Avery Fatbottom Renaissance Fair.
So that was my very next question. I've only seen the title Avery Fatbottom.
Well, that's on
Renaissance
me. I should have
Fair.
sent you some copies to read before the interview.
Totally fine. I'm fascinated to know like what the actual fuck is that about.
Well, it's about Avery Fatbottom, and she's the king of the fair. That's the person that runs it, and she's finding out that someone's sabotaging it from within or from outside. She's not actually sure, I guess, but we can make assumptions. And she's trying to save the fair because it's something her parents died suddenly and left her. She's like an accountant. So.
Okay.
and her best friend works there as like an archer and a performer, and so it's full of like a lot of. It's kind of like a comic book or comic convention. There's a lot of creative people at one, and it shouldn't necessarily work together as like one organism, but it does. And I used to work at Texas Ren Fair and perform in like a magical dinner theater at the University of Texas and all this, like doing sword and dagger fights on stage. So it was kind of like, I want to like kind of encapsulate a lot of the feelings that are here, but like from make it like a little bit more interesting and, a little murder mystery maybe. So
my wife used to work for an armorer as one of the sales girls, like with the
like a blacksmith, and people that were like stenciling,
and like the chesty like bustier in front of the thing, So it sounds like something that'd be right up her alley. I'll definitely have to check it out.
I think it'd be up anyone's alley, to be fair.
I mean, let's be real. It's obviously a book that everyone should be reading, and they should go out and buy it immediately.
Yeah, There's only 2 issues. It'll probably be about 5, and there's a couple publishers that are like, we want it all, so just finish it, or
Nice.
But it's like I'm in the middle of doing other things. So
a lot of people like become distinguished as writers, and a lot of people become distinguished as artists. But you seem to have kind of like bridged that gap to do both. Is there one that you prefer doing? And is there one that, I guess, like kind of excites you more? Like, is there one that you enjoy a little bit more, or are you just kind of like, this is all awesome?
I like both. I like working on a team. I mean, I also like doing everything myself. Like, I'm the boss. But there's like, it's those different mindsets and those parts of your brain that you want to like get that itch scratched. And working on a team is great. Like, if I'm receiving the script, say from my current author, who I can't say, when I'm reading it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to draw this. And they also knew that I couldn't wait because they've like made this like emphasis and delivering something, because a lot of times the authors can't draw. So they're like, whoa. And I'm like, no, I need feedback. Like, I can work in a void at home by myself, but I'm like, I guess make the siblings look more like each other, you know, whatever it is.
Right.
Feedback. But then when I'm writing for someone else, see, like Michelle Wong on Goosebumps, who is amazing, and then Trina Farrell, who did the colors. I had, you know, seen her work in Tomboy and like her covers for Power Rangers, so I knew what was in her wheelhouse, but she could still surprise me. Like that, like she did a drawing of like a sad skeleton. Like, it's like they don't have any muscles to move around, but she made it happen. Like,
that's awesome.
She just, I felt like it was like, I don't want to say firing on all cylinders, but like it was like she knew what I was talking about. Or she was also cool with like, occasionally I would thumbnail out a page if it seemed like overly difficult to explain in words, and so it was like a little bit easier, I think, to like teamwork up like that.
Nice. So basically being able to wear both hats can benefit you in a lot of situations where you can say, hey, like, this is what I have in mind, not really sure how to write that down.
Yeah, and I always deliver with the caveat, like, you can ignore me completely, because I don't want to be overbearing. Like, they're
right.
like, oh God, I don't want to work with her again. It's like, oh, she was trying to be helpful. Like, you know, will use, won't use, fine. Like,
so you say you like having things on your table that are both, you know, your independent stuff and your you know, licensed stuff or
Definitely.
whatever is coming out that's a bigger name. When you're at a convention like this, like, what kind of reaction do you have? You know, somebody comes over and says, oh, holy crap, that's, you know, Goosebumps, you know, for example. And then you say, well, you know, check this out. Like, do you ever have somebody that's like, yeah, I mean, I've never heard of it. And like, how do you kind of like muscle through getting them to buy more of your independent stuff?
oh, easy. I mean, I have like a little log line I have for each book, so that way I can like, because, you know, if you have something for everyone on your table, it doesn't have to be the same book. God, it shouldn't be. But,
right.
You know, you have a little bit of like adventure, action, romance or something. You know, there's something that they're gonna like latch onto and be like, that's the kind of thing I like. So I'm also not like I'm not overly sensitive about people, and they're like, nope, not for me, because I'm like, okay, like we're also in this like room with too many people,
right?
And it's loud, and you know the ceilings are tall, so like people's like they start to melt away like all their niceties and stuff. So I'm like, no, you know, it's not for them. But then maybe they'll see me the next year, be like, oh yeah, that's right, she had these comics I've been thinking about. And that's what happens sometimes, is you get not repeat customers, but people that have seen you for a while, and they're like, oh, I guess I should buy this because I remembered it, so there must be something there.
That's awesome.
That sounds like the longest con ever, but
hey, aren't we all just playing a long con?
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about the niceties of kind of like convention culture, and I was raised very polite. Like, I was raised Catholic. Like, I had to say ma'am and sir and all that kind of stuff. And so even today, like, it's day 3, it's like hour whatever. Like, I feel like I haven't slept in 3 days. And we are in a giant room full of too many people. And when I bump into somebody, I still turn around and go, sorry.
Yeah.
Like, I can't can't help it. Like, my niceties never melt away. You know, like, I might be a biggest jerk in the world, like, doing this kind of stuff. But I can't.
Yeah, it's
I
like,
can't not be apologetic.
yeah, we're all
It's so
swimming
weird.
in the same like overpopulated pond. So.
Yeah, yeah, it's disgusting. I hate it, but I love it. It's
Can't
so
wait for the next
amazing.
one.
I know. So, you know, kind of talking about cons and like going to cons. How does Denver compare to like some of the other conventions you've been to?
It's bigger than I thought it would be, and there's been like, I would say, I think we were, you know, mentioning like we've been on some panels, and I think there might be a few too many, because there's like 5 panels on the same topic, and we kind of condense some of those down just so the audience
Is bigger.
is bigger. And I think the show's only been around for 6 years, so there's some growing pains there organizationally. But then there are some things that are like, you know, 1 million volunteers coming by asking if I need anything, you know, like they're supportive. Like they're, you know, creating the pop culture classroom in the lab. Like, so there's a lot of good things. And I think it's just listening to feedback from people that go to a lot of shows is the way, and how they can grow and like service the community better.
It's awesome.
Especially that exhibitor line thing outside. Not that I had to worry about it, but I saw people sweating in the sun that the day before had just been waved through like an open door.
Yeah. I think it was just day one I had the exhibitor line like right at the very beginning, and then by day 2 they had fixed it by just opening up the floor like a lot earlier.
Yeah.
So it ended up working out over time.
So I think as long as they like take steps to move forward, it'll be fine.
That's awesome.
Because everyone, it's downtown area is cool. A lot of cool bars here and good comic shops. I'm cool with the altitude, so.
Right.
Yeah, I love seeing a bloody nose in the morning. No.
Speaking of comic shops, have you gone to any local comic shops?
Well, Kilgore Books and Comics.
I love that place.
My mainstay. So I know Dan Stafford used to run it. No Event Skyver used to work there. Alex Graham, like all these like indie cartoonists that I admire. And,
I used to literally live so it's like between 13th and 14th, or like it's on 13th between Washington and the other street behind it.
Yeah.
I used to live like on 13th and Washington, so I would walk by it like every day on the way to work and like just go in and be like, oh man, what crazy shit do they have today? The place is super cool.
Yeah, I definitely bought their drink cozy and shirt for my home life, but I think when I'm going to try to do like a book tour for when the trade comes out for Goosebumps and something else that's unannounced, so I'll probably try to go to Mile High and/or Escape Velocity in Colorado Springs. So, you know.
The Jason Street Megastore is unreal.
Is it? Okay.
The Mile High Jason Street Megastore. Like, you walk in and it is literally like an airport hangar-sized building full of comic books. It's insane.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm here for a little bit longer, so I'll try to make it over there. And
nice.
Yeah.
So, Jen, what are you working on right now? And, like, how can people find you on the socials and all that?
Well, recently Amazon/Comixology announced a new line of comics they're doing through their like print-on-demand services, and I am drawing something for Comixology Originals, which I cannot talk about yet.
Hey, but you can say what it is, Comixology Originals.
I can say, and I'm drawing it. I think I didn't even get that. Yeah, well, I'm drawing it, and
you are participating in
it. My name wasn't up, but at San Diego they'll do the full announcement, which I'm super excited about, and I think we're gonna that's all I actually know. So that's what I'm drawing on for the next couple months, as well as I've been doing some artwork and covers, as well as I guess playing in a podcast called D20 Dames.
Oh, nice!
It's
very cool.
D&D podcast, and we also our DM Kat Kruger writes original adventures, so I do most of the art for those as well, just because I think it's kind of the key to unlocking or teaching compassion in people or relearning, because you can approach things differently, and we don't have to kill every ogre that comes our way, like especially when they might know where the best pizza place is in town. Rewarding people for thinking differently or doing collaborative storytelling. And I'm online. I have a website called Haunted Vault Studios. That's my little company.
Nice.
And then I'm the Jenya, TheJenya on like Instagram, Twitter.
Awesome.
So,
well, Jen, thank you so much for being on our show. We really appreciate your time. I'll let you get back to your booth so you can hustle for the last few hours of the show. And when you do the announcement for Comixology in San Diego, we'd love to be there for that. So, because we'll be there too. So.
Oh, awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.